Yes.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much. So I will now go on to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Professor Ujjwal Jana, who is an associate professor in the Department of English, Pondicherry University. He has a number of national and international papers to his credit. He also has a number of grants where he has collaborations with universities in Australia as well as in South Africa. And we look forward to his presentation, which again looks as one specific text enclosed in. So over to Joel for his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts. At the beginning, I would like to admit that I'm a teacher of English, but I'm not a well-versed scholar in Vaishnavite literature or in that particular canon. But I have done a little bit of work in this particular field. So the title of my presentation is Epistemology of Bhakti in Rasik Mangal. So the entire presentation of mine will be structured into three components. I'm going to talk about briefly the historical trajectory that had gone into the making of an extraordinary figure like Rashikananda. And then I will briefly touch upon who Rashikananda, what is it that makes him so fascinating a figure within the canon of Vaishnava literature. And in the third part of my talk, I'm going to talk about his magnum opus, Rasika Mangal. As you all know, that the early years of the 16th century had undergone a tremendous change both in the social and the religious sphere in Bengal and Odisha. And the overwhelming presence of Sri Chaitanya had made all these changes. So this is known as this, after Sri Chaitanya, the movement that had taken place across the eastern part of India, in particular in Bengal and Odisha, it is known as New Vaishnavite movement in Bengal and Odisha, which was both theologically and organizationally, kind of ode to the Shara Goswamis, and particularly to the youngest of them, Srijiv Goswami of Vrindavan, who wrote a number of Sanskrit texts. So the early years of the 16th century had undergone, as I have already mentioned, tremendous changes and certain stages of evolution. And all these forces had undergone corresponding changes in character. As you all know, in the earlier period of this post-Chaitanya Vaishnava movement, there are two major schools of thought, or two major, streams of ideas which developed simultaneously. One at Navadvip, where Sri Chaitanya was born, and other was Vrindavan, which is now in present day UP. So these are the two places which basically developed simultaneously as a wonderful center for Vaishnava ideals, and they have their correspondences, their differences, confluences, and many of these ideas. But the ideas and the outlook which are developed in Navadvip, basically they were reflected in many of the lyrical writings of the contemporary times. And like particularly they are in Bengali, as you know, Murari Gupta, Kobi Karnapura, Narahari Sarkar, and other kind of people. And most of these writers, through their writings, try to emphasize the Bhakti cult. That means singular, unadulterated, unflinching devotion to Lord Krishna, in particular Sri Chaitanya. And adoration of Sri Chaitanya as the highest and ultimate object of worship was the most dominant note of their works. And to that was also added that Sri Chaitanya came on earth in human body as an reincarnation of Krishna and Radha. And so in the writings of Kavi Karnapura, we have different kind of bhakti. This is known as particularly called Raganurag bhakti. So which means that a lay Vaishnava convert might serve the Lord through the wholehearted service to the master in different capacities. So we have Dasya bhakti. That means a sevak or a servant or a disciple will be serving the master in the role of a servant. Then Sakya in the role of a friend. Then Vatsalya in the role of a parent who loves his children. And then like a Madhurya, I mean, which is a kind of devotional kind of role. But as you all know, Sri Chaitanya had already emphasized the preference of the Madhurya compared to other forms of bhakti. And so in bhakti tradition, that means a bhakta or a disciple or a devotee must kind of serve the Lord in all these capacities. And of course there are many Santo and other kind of things which were kind of included later on. But now I would like to come to the historical kind of understanding how Rasikananda's emergence took place. As you all know, after Chaitanya, there are the six, sort of Goswamis, which are all based in or located in Vrindavana, and the youngest of them was Srijiv Goswami. And Srijiv Goswami was one of the most powerful, was one of the most powerful figures of that particular time, who was not only a devout Vaishnavite, but he was also a terrific writer, commentator. And what is interesting here is that when, as I have already mentioned, there are the two different kind of movements which are happening simultaneously. One in the Vrindavan, and on the other hand there was the Navadvip. So when the Soda Goswamis, they were kind of actively engaged in the post Chaitanya period in the propagation of his theory, in translating his ideas, in translating his kind of ideals and also principles, and they were kind of spearheading a kind of movement, as I have already mentioned, the Neo Vaishnava movement. And the purpose was to basically kind of make Chaitanya's ideals, teachings, make accessible to the common ordinary people. So it was mostly important, and there are different kind of strategies they had adopted by establishing kind of sripots, I mean centers of devotion, temples, and various kind of measures had been taken. So at that point of time, Srijiv Goswami, as you know, in addition to these six Goswamis, there were many ardent, thousands and thousands of ardent followers of Vaishnavism, and among them he had chosen three best disciples. One is Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, and Samananda Prabhu. So these are the three important ardent disciples of Srijiv Goswami who had been sent to northern part of India, or in particular to Bengal and Odisha, to disseminate the teachings of the Goswamis, and in particular the ideals and the kind of and the message of Sri Chaitanya across Bengal, Odisha, and other parts also. So this was the occasion which had given Sri Samananda an opportunity to come to Bengal and explore the possibilities of spreading kind of Vaishnavite thoughts in each and every household of Bengal and Odisha. Who is Samananda? Samananda was the master, or maybe also we can call it the guru of Rasikananda. And now, during his stay in, or maybe during his kind of presence in this eastern part of India, Samananda came in contact with Rasikananda, and there are many lores and there are many established kind of myths that Sri Samananda had kind of had been, had imagined of Rasikananda, or maybe God had appeared and told him that here is a man who is waiting for you. So go there and kind of initiate him into the teachings. Who is waiting for you? I mean, who means like Sri Rasikananda ji is waiting for you. So now I would like to give a little bit of kind of introduction to, because of the paucity of time, I'm going to cut it short. I mean, I'm not going to give a detailed kind of thing, because there are a lot of experiences, activities which Sri Samanandaji, if we read his biography, we'll get to know about a lot of his activities. I mean, how he came from a very ordinary family, and because of his bhakti, because of his unflinching devotion to Lord Krishna and Chaitanya, he had become one of the most influential, kind of ardent followers of Sri Chaitanya in days to come. We get to know about it. Now, here I'm going to briefly touch upon, Rasikanandaji's little bit of biography, so that many of us who have not been, kind of familiar with this name will get to know about him. And in this context, let me mention it, that which I'm going to talk about it later on, that in the canon of Vaishnava literature, there is no dearth of, biographies, or maybe what we call it, like autobiographies or biographies. There is no, like, say for example, we have Krishna Das Kaviraj's Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have Vrindavan Das's Chaitanya Bhagavad, we have Jayananda's Chaitanya Mangal, we have Lochan Das's Chaitanya Mangal, Nityananda Das's Prema Vilasa. So there is no dearth of the texts as far as kind of this kind of genre is concerned. But as far as Rasikanandaji's Rasika Mangal is concerned, I think beyond Bengal and Odisha, those who are familiar with the mainstream, I must say, the canonical Bhakti literature, they are completely unaware of it. Even when Siddharth approached me for delivering a talk on this particular text, also I was completely unaware of it. I am from Midnapur, but I was completely unaware of the tremendous movement that had taken place across Midnapur during the 16th, from 15th to 16th and 17th century. I was completely unfamiliar with. So it was an eye opener for me when I started reading the life of Rasikananda, which is not available in complete version, or maybe the Rasik Mangal, which came to me in the fragmented form also. I was completely, kind of overwhelmed by the, kind of presence of such kind of figures who have remained underrepresented. We know Chaitanya, we know Sada Goswamis, but beyond that, there have been so many figures. Maybe those who are into Vaishnava thought and Vaishnava canon, they might know about it, but beyond that, it has remained completely unrepresented. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about Rasikananda. So Rasikananda was basically, kind of one of the outstanding leaders of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. He was, basically his name was Rasika Murari Patnaik, also known as Rasikananda Prabhu, was born in 1590, almost 56 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ended his pastimes on earth. So he was born into a powerful Jamindar family in Rohini. Rohini is a place in, earlier it was in Midnapur district. Now it has been, now it has come into Jhargram district now, in near Subarnarekha river, where today there is the district of Jhargram, as I have already mentioned, in the southwest Bengal. And that was a glorious time, 1590. So towards the end of the 16th century, it was a glorious time in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. The disciple succession of Lord Krishna's devotees in line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the 6 Goswamis in the Vrindavana had done a great deal of Sanskrit works in the form of poetry, history, philosophy, different from everything and the world has ever seen. And at that point of time, as I have given you kind of idea that at that point of time, Jiva Goswami had sent 3 of his disciples, and one of them was Shyamanandaji. And so Shyamananda's encounter with young Rasikananda is retold in Gopi Ganavallabh Das's Rasika Mangal, the text that I'm going to discuss a little bit in course of my presentation. Here is a detailed description how Shyamananda came into contact with Rasikananda and initiated him and made him as one of the kind of towering figures as far as Gaudiya Vaishnavism is concerned. And so Samananda and Rasikananda saw each other and identified a connection that transcended time itself. Rasikananda ran towards his future guru and fell at his feet, I mean, at their first encounter, and said, "You are my eternal surveyor, and Krishna has finally sent you to rescue me." Samananda Prabhu smiled with great satisfaction. I quote, "I found the future of Vaishnavism." Rasikananda, like his guru, was a married man, and therefore his wife, Ichha Devi, also accepted initiation from Samananda Prabhu, receiving the name Shamadasi. Samananda told them to always chant Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shortly after Shamadasi's initiation, I mean Rasikananda Prabhu's wife, the couple left Rohini and went to a city near Kasipur, a popular city with a large influx of wealthy people. And this particular city is located in the confluence of Dulung River and Subarnarekha River also. So sometime later, Samananda visited his two disciples in Kasipur and brought a beautiful Krishna deity to them, Gopi Jana Vallabha. Seeing how much his disciple liked his newly installed deity, Samananda renamed the city to Gopi Vallabhpur, the city of Gopi Vallabha. So the present day Gopi Vallabhpur was, I mean the name it was given by kind of Samanandaji, and Gopi Vallabhpur. Many of us are not kind of familiar with. It is in Jhargram district, and it has been carrying the legacy of this Vaishnava tradition for the last 300 or 400 years, or maybe more than that. And so Gopi Vallabhpur became and emerged as one of the kind of emerging centers of Vaishnavism, Vaishnava cultivation of thought. And so Samanandaji, after he renamed this particular city as Gopi Vallabhpur, he blessed all the people in the city to develop the same love to the deity that Rasikananda and his wife had. He asked Rasikananda to tirelessly preach Krishna consciousness and made Shamadasi the chief priestess of the temple. Samanandaji then left, but left a seed. He left a tradition, and so Rasikanandaji grew, fertility, built an unparalleled organization for the expansion of Krishna consciousness. He and his wife worked as a team, and it is said that together they had led hundreds of thousands of godly people to the teaching of Lord Krishna. According to a great Vaishnava scholar, Ramakanta Chakraborty, I quote, Rasika Kumari was perhaps the most successful Vaishnava leader in terms of converting people to the Vaishnavism of his time, I unquote. His enthusiasm was so strong that after he left this mortal world, the Medinipur region developed a distinctive Vaishnava school in the mood of Shyamananda, his guru. This Samanandi's Vaishnavis, I mean, this is something very, very interesting. That means within the shadow of Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, Samananda tradition, or we can call it Vaishnava Samanandis. I mean, so another kind of sect, which had its full allegiance to the Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but it had developed, kind of some of the distinctive features. Of course, the mission was very clear. It was to translate all his dreams, all his teachings into action. I must say, I mean, when you talk about practical Vedanta, I think Samanandaji and Rasikanandaji together, they had done this and made it possible, because establishing thousands and thousands centers of Vaishnava centers, temples, preaching the mantra of Radha Krishna and Sri Chaitanya in each and every household. So that means this humanly impossible task had been accomplished. I must say, it had started with Samananda, and it had and it went through Rasikananda, and the tradition is still on. So when we think of Rasikananda, kind of as a part of this tradition, I must say that he was not only, he himself was not only a devout Vaishnavite, rather I sometimes wonder, and in many of the critics, they have told that he was a kind of Vaishnava missionaries, just as when the Christian missionaries had come to India from abroad, and they had started converting people, but that there are of course lot of differences between their way of preaching Christianity and kind of thing. So these people, I mean, Rashikanandaji, his wife, and many other ardent followers, they had started kind of flooding the whole world with the teachings, with the Maha Mantras of Sri Krishna and Sri Chaitanya. They had established many kind of a centers. And when we read Rasik Mangal, I am coming to the text also, then we'll get to know about it. So Rasikanandaji popularized Vaishnavism to the point of creating a subculture based on Vaishnavite principles. With Gopi Vallabhpur as the epicenter of Samanandi Vaishnavis, Rasikananda spent 40 years trying to show people the good sense of Krishna consciousness. He made disciples among great kings and among merciless thieves, among Brahmanas and men of lesser birth. He completely ignored the caste system and the external qualifications or disqualifications, and gave everybody the opportunity to try out Vaishnavism. This is one of the major premises of Neo Vaishnavism, kind of Vaishnavite movement, was the complete, I must not say partial, or maybe kind of complete, I must not say complete, kind of a great extermination of the caste hierarchy that had been prevalent in the contemporary society. And this Neo Vaishnavite movement kind of was a sharp attack on the on the orthodox kind of Hindu religion, which had been predominant, which had been promoting kind of casteism, and which had kind of prohibited people from kind of marginal communities to worship gods and goddesses, to read the scriptures. As we all know, if we read the contemporary literatures of Hindu kind of Hindu pantheon at that point of time, there are a lot of caste restrictions. And of course, it was Sri Chaitanya who had completely, I must say, unleashed a new lease of life and new lease of thought by shackling everybody from by releasing everybody from the shackles of casteism. And of course, there had been people like kind of H.H. Risley, or he was of the opinion that, with a few exceptions such as Bauris, Sonars, and Pod, these are the kind of marginal communities, all the lower caste people in Bengal belong to the Gaudiya Vaishnava sect. Then, according to Hitesh Ranjan Sannal, I quote, Gaudiya Vaishnavism was avowedly meant for the social and spiritual upliftment of the oppressed section of the society. Its great emphasis on individual merit, irrespective of caste and economic position. So I am not going into details, because I mean, before in one of the presentation, Professor Cuttack was talking about that how the Bhakti movement kind of played a cataclysmic role in reducing the caste hierarchy and all the obstacles, the rigid kind of systems, the codified, the ratiocinematic kind of abstract thinking of the ideals of the god and kind of things, which created a kind of obstacle and hindrance for the people in Bengal. I am not coming into that now. I would like to focus briefly, and because I'm briefly about the Rasik Mangal text also. Now, what is Rasik Mangal? As I have already mentioned, Rasik Mangal is the biography of. I have the text with me. So this is the text. This is the Rasik Mangal text, which came to me in in a fragmented kind of way with me. So this Rasik Mangal was originally written by Gopi Jana Vallabh Das, and this was probably written in. I mean, we do not exactly know the date of this particular kind of text, but this particular text was composed in kind of four different directions. And the
Ujjwal, sorry to interrupt you. You have already run out of time, so I will request you to kindly touch upon the key points and close the talk in the next 3 to 4 minutes. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So this Rasik Mangal, I would like to give a brief introduction to that. So the Rasik Mangal emerged as a kind of I must say, I mean, highly rich and cultural text of that particular period. I consider Rasik Mangal not as a Vaishnava hagiography, as we have, as I have already mentioned, some of the hagiographic texts which are there. But Rasik Mangal's distinctive importance lies in the fact that it is not only a hagiography, rather it is a cultural archive of the cultural archive. We not only get into details, I mean, all the life stories and the miraculous incidents which had happened in the life of Rasikananda, his activities, but also the the quintessence of the time and the Bhakti tradition of Bengal, and also the mass kind of movement of kind of spreading and dissemination of Vaishnava religion and the teachings of Sri Chaitanya. So personally, I mean, I personally think that I have only read only the, I think this is the first, I mean, Rasik Mangal was considered into, I mean, the volume that I have already, this is the Eastern, it is called Purba Vibhag and Dakshin Vibhag, and this is the first edition, first Khondo. The other, kind of Khondos are not available to me, or maybe I have not been able to get it. But what I understand, as I have, this is written in the verse form, and each and this is something very interesting. As I was reading the content of the text, also this is something very important. This is named as Pratham Lahari, the Purba Vibhag, or it is considered it is consisting of the Purba Vibhag is consisting of almost 16 Laharis. Laharis means the first waves, 16 waves, and then the Dakshin Vibhag, what is known as, yeah, Dakshin Vibhag means the eastern side or eastern direction, that is consisting of 8, yes, the 8, I mean, Laharis means 8 waves. Now when I was reading all these kind of details, particularly the first, the Purba Vibhag, I was completely startled by get to know that, I mean, here is a history, here is a tradition which can kind of enlighten us about the contemporary time, and how kind of how they, how I mean, the caste hierarchy, the caste dynamics, the politics of bhakti, and the, not only that, and also what is interesting here is that, I mean, through this narration, we also get to know about the relationship between the, I mean, the ardent followers of Vaishnavism, like Rasikananda, Shamananda, and many other people whose names are not, I mean, partially mentioned here, how their connection with the common ordinary people. So this particular text comes to me as a living legend of the contemporary time. Nothing fictitious, nothing imaginative. All the facts and all the details which are narrated in the text, they come as a powerful pointer to the historical vignettes which had I mean, which can become a cultural resources or the literary resources of our kind of literary tradition, or particularly and a Vaishnava canon. So so this is all about it, and so I'll ask people, those who are, this is originally written in Bengali, I think some part of it is available in English translation, and so I'll ask people to read this particular text also, and we must make sure that to retranslate it again, because after I got this particular text also, I feel tempted to translate it into modern, because this is in verse form, and which I think I'll not be able to do that, but to make this text available to to the greater world, and to make people aware of the tremendous potential that this particular text holds for future. Because if you would like to know the figure, then we have to know the time, we have to know the history, we have to know the contemporary time, a contemporary kind of contemporary socio cultural and political tradition. So I consider this text not as just as a hagiography, but as a cultural archive which might kind of revolutionize our understanding of Rasikananda, Shamananda, and the entire kind of tradition which are developed within Bengal Odisha region, and I think people who are familiar with Vaishnava tradition, but not much aware of this kind of kind of subsection which is known as, I mentioned it, that Shamananda Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition, it might open new vistas and new horizons to them. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Jana, for getting us briefly introduced to this very interesting book and this entire entire tradition of the 15th and the 16th century. There are a couple of points. I know that it's a work in progress, and you are probably looking at showcasing this work in the context of the Bhakti tradition. Uh, Two quick observations. One is I believe that probably as you make this effort, you would be looking towards finding the Odisha connect, because there is this journey from Bengal to Odisha, and there are a lot of other implications. For instance, if I remember Surendra Mahanti's Odia text, Krishna Venire Sandhya, it talks about the effemination of an entire warrior class of Odias. I mean, this is a counterpoint I would just like to make you aware of, that took place because of the Radha Bhava, or the intense uh, love for beloved Krishna, because that was a time of war, and that is a period of time when the Odishan warriors were very strong. But after this movement, while this movement was spiritually uplifting, on the other side, from a territorial context, it had its other negative implications as well. So these are very interesting things that need to be looked into. The other point is that if I understand correctly, there was this dimension of Rasikananda shifting from filial love into what is known as Radha Bhava, an effeminate form where he considered himself Radha. And so you have this Sringara Bhakti also embedded in this entire relationship. So probably these are components that you would be looking at as you go ahead with your work. If there are any other questions, we will take them. Otherwise, because we are running out of time, we will request the next speaker, uh, Professor Siddharth